Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here on BeamNG Drive for some more downhill chaos, and we start with a highly modified Baldi. This is the plain version of the car, however I have taken the planes and the jet engines off. Reason being is it's too hard to try and control it if you were to be using the jets for extra boost, so I've taken that all off. However, it does leave a car four-wheel drive, which should be interesting to compare this to the normal Baldi's time going down here, because now we have a four-wheel drive train instead of the rear-wheel drive. We do still have a couple of aero bits, as you can see from the sticky outy bits. I also think this car is lower and runs stiffer suspension than the normal ones. Things were going sort of okayish on the first run, as you can see, getting really bounced around a lot, and by the tree hairpin, sure enough, it just got understeered off. I hit a bump and the front of the car starts pinging along the ground. The front wheels were in the air, no steering, and then we're not going to make it, basically. This is a tough car to drive because it really doesn't like bumps. Amazingly, I managed to get everything wrong over the first jump and still saved it. I don't think I've fallen off the road that badly and managed to recover as I did that time. Unfortunately, it didn't last much longer because same place, hit some bumps, car got dragged wide, and I fell off in a very similar area. This car I think perhaps the Capri, the racing Capri might have struggled with bumps as much as this car. Other than that, I can't think of anything. That's just because this is so low and not at all designed for this kind of thing. I drove over the Mound of Doom on this run and it didn't roll my car, instead it killed it completely. In doing that, I must have snapped the drive line, and then we have no go. Next attempt, I was a little bit wide through the first corner. You could take the first corner, it wasn't too bad, but if you did hit the bumps a little bit wrong, that's what happens. Basically, again, it starts going, and I can't do anything to counteract it because it's just not built for this kind of thing. I turned into the second corner a little bit too soon. That's the normal thing the Mound of Doom does to your cars. It'll normally throw it onto its roof, which it did do with this one. I was actually surprised because this has got to be one of the lowest centre of masses of any car that I have driven down here. Coming up towards the second jump, and that's not gone well. I knew the second I left the jump, I knew it was going to land and I knew it was going to crash, but there is nothing you can do about it. At that moment in time, I could see the way the car was coming down, and it was going to clip the landing and flip it upside down. It didn't take as long as I thought it would to get a clean run with this vehicle. Bumps are terrible, basically. There's no other way of putting it. You've got to be incredibly lucky in many respects. If you hit a bump a tiny bit wrong, then it's going to throw the car around. You might be able to keep it on the road. Chances are you're probably not, but on this run everything was okay. As I said, this is four-wheel drive. It's a pretty fast car, which makes the flat parts of the circuit, or the flatter parts of the circuit I should say, when it's not being affected by horrible bumps, it makes this car pretty damn quick. You can chuck it around through some of the corners, not all of them, but you can throw it around. You can take very good corner speed. Brakes are also pretty damn good on this, again when the car is not being in the air. But it got stopped a lot better. I didn't have problems with overshooting braking zones particularly, which is surprising. Normally this braking zone causes real problems, and I thought it might do with this car. As you can see, the way it's twisting and everything over the bumps, I thought this would cause problems, but the brakes are so good that it's okay with it. Up towards the final corner, a little bit out of shape there, as the car is, it just can't do the bumps. And a quick acceleration across the line, never going to stop in time. We may have smacked it into a building slightly, and then rather annoyingly I couldn't roll it back onto its wheels. Despite my best efforts, it sort of teetered on the edge, but it wouldn't go over. So the modified Baldi, the four-wheel drive, very quick down this course. It's just the bumps it can't deal with. It's a very quick car, I should probably say. It struggles over the bumps, and the lower sort of body kit doesn't help matters, as that's always catching on the floor. Up next, we have got another rock crawling vehicle. This one is the helljeep. A little while ago, we had the moon buggy go down the course, which it was a bit of a pain. To be honest, the moon buggy is one of the hardest vehicles I've ever driven. down here. But I thought I would give this one a go, see how this one compares to the other one. Now this doesn't have the big complicated 4-wheel steer system, which means that it is instantly easier to drive, much easier to get this thing through the corners. The high-speed corners were incredibly hard for the Moon Buggy, whereas this one here can actually get around them okay. It has other problems, quite significant other problems, the main one being understeer, as things go all horribly wrong and I end up sort of spinning it. See, the advantage that the Moon Buggy had with the 4-wheel steer is in the slow corners it gave it great manoeuvrability. In the high-speed corners it was almost impossible to drive, whereas this, in the high-speed corners, is pretty good. Slow-speed corners, it's horrible. And if you mess up the alignment taking a jump, even all the off-road suspension in the world isn't going to save you. On that one, yeah, around the slow-speed corners, this thing is horrendous. Now, I was having problems elsewhere with taking that jump. Again, took the jump and got it landed, but it was a little too close to the inside of the course. And that was all it took to put this car up on its side. Saved it, but ended up in the trees and spinning. You had to be very, very slow around the corners if you wanted to make it. And then I may have tried to use the power a little bit too soon. And then it got a bit twitchy and unhappy, and I may have slightly fallen off a cliff with it. It's a difficult one to drive this. It's not designed at all for doing what I am doing with it. This is designed for crawling over very slowly over ridiculous terrain. Not this. Again, understeer just pushed it wide and I couldn't for the life of me get it turned. It just would not turn. No matter what I did, I could not get the vehicle turned and it ended up falling off the cliff. It didn't take as long as I expected with this. Again, I was expecting this one here to be a bit of a pain. It was difficult to drive, but I got the hang of it fairly quickly, because basically you have to be very slow through these corners. The first section it isn't too bad going through. As I said, it's not the horrible, almost unsteerable thing that we got with the Moon Buggy. This one is the slow speed corners. Real pain. Can't use the handbrake. The handbrake is next to useless in this car. Normally, with a 4-wheel drive vehicle, I would yank the handbrake, get the back of the car sort of turned, and then boot it, and that works on this course. But this, I can't use the handbrake, and I can't get the back of the vehicle turned like that, and I can't carry any corner speed through the slow speed sections because there is just monumental understeer from this. So the only solution is go very slowly, which is what I was having to do. Not massively impressive. It doesn't look spectacular, but it's the only way I can get this car around the course. Of course, the suspension, being designed for rock crawling, is more than up for the task of dealing with the bumps. Apart from the couple of mistakes I made over the first jump section, I didn't have any other problems. With this, it dealt with all the landings, dealt with all the rough stuff absolutely fine. As we come up towards the final corner now, yeah, hard vehicle to drive this with the understeer. Just so much understeer, and it is across the line for the helljeep. Yeah, it's okay considering we are taking this so far out of its comfort zone. It didn't do too badly. Getting down the course, survived it without any damage. Yeah, it works. That's about that's about it though. Not an easy vehicle to do a rally course like that with, but it's not designed for it, so I will forgive it that. But very good off-road if you do go for it. Some extreme off-roading. The helljeep is indeed good at that. Our third and final vehicle is a toy car. This one, the DSC toy car. I thought I'd give this one a go just for a laugh to see what it could do. I had no idea what to expect from this one. It's just a basic, plain and simple car. This is 4-wheel drive. It has a decently powerful engine, and into the first corner things may have gone wrong fairly quickly. While yes, it does have 4-wheel drive, it's not really the best of cars for turning. It also does not have off-road suspension. So first corner again, we're bouncing and there's a tree. Well, we made it fractionally further around the course that time, but it's, yeah, again, much like with the supercar we had at the start, suspension really struggles. It just gets thrown around again and again. First corner, have a guess what might happen. We got further but there's a tree in the way. Again, I'm just hitting the bumps, and the bumps are throwing it around, and then I'm just losing all sorts of control. I can't really do anything. Fourth time lucky, maybe I could get around turn 1. No, that's gone wide. That's gone wide. It's not going to work doing that. It took me a while to get a hang of the first corner. I did eventually get around it just by being very, very slow through there. There were mainly the problems with the bumps, to be honest. Again, it's very similar to the first car we had, in that road suspension cannot deal with some of the really rough stuff here, and there are some seriously nasty bumps around this course that just throw the front of the car up in the air, and then you lose steering, you lose brakes, and then you can't stop it for the next corner. Although this was a problem I didn't expect to be having with the toy car, turning into the final corner and ending up on our side. Yeah, I'm quite surprised by that. I didn't expect to see that car sort of end up twisting like that. An impressive endo from the vehicle after I smacked the back. Again, that's just getting the landing slightly wrong, or more like not carrying enough speed onto that jump. We'll get it slightly wrong on the landing, and that's what happens with the road cars. That's a very nasty one. You've got to make sure you're carrying enough speed to clear it properly. Yeah, handling again was the problem. I think understeer is the theme of this week's episode, as we have more problems caused by bumps. Basically, it's just bouncing, can't steer. We're at this corner again, and we sort of turned the first part of the corner, was fine, and then I went to put some power down, and it didn't work, and then we fell off the cliff again and smashed up the front of it a little bit. Coming up towards, again, this same corner. Have a guess what might happen? Well, that's that's what the bumps do. I've also got a tree imprint in the front of my car. I just couldn't turn it. Back at the first corner, I've almost perfected this one by now. I could still have the occasional problem, like getting too much sideways through the second part. And it wasn't the Mound of Doom's fault that time, that was the tree. The first time I think I rolled off the tree. Again, I got out of position, couldn't correct it in time, hit a tree, and then ended up on my roof. Braking hasn't been a massive problem with this car particularly, but yeah, on that occasion, I couldn't stop it. It was getting thrown around. I may have left it a little bit too late on the brakes as well. A common thing to happen with cars on this route, especially the road vehicles, is to struggle getting stopped there. That's why I did enjoy driving the Baldi. That did do remarkably well stopping, even with the rough braking zones. Of all the cars this week, the toy car certainly took the longest to get a clean run out of, but it wasn't completely horrendous. As I said, this thing is still four-wheel drive, so you can throw it around the corners fairly well. It's not got the suspension, as you can see, the way it's being, the way it's moving around so much. Probably one of the worst suspension vehicles that I've tried to drive down here, because it's just designed to be a simple road car. This. But yeah, the first section is okay for just sort of sliding it through, and then the minute it starts getting rough from here on out, it's very hard to use any power, really. It spends so much time being thrown about. Over the jump, I was completely out of position over the jump there. Surprised I managed to get away with it so well. When the car's up on its side in the air, that's not normally a good sign. You don't want to be seeing that. Going into another braking zone again, having to brake quite early for these, as the car is spending as much time in the air, or had its wheels spend as much time in the air as they do on the ground down there. Again, it's barely. I don't think all four wheels stay on the track on this final section. There's always one of them is somewhere in the air. It is a real pain as we get it stopped into the final corner. Then we can use the acceleration. We can use the four-wheel drive to boot it towards the line, and there we go. We get it caught on a shelf. The interesting damage model on this one, slightly more cartoony damage model, kind of cool though. Yeah, the toy car made it to the bottom of the course. It made it to the bottom actually undamaged. The damage on it at the moment was caused from the collision with the shelf. Again, it's another road car, which the suspension really can't deal with a bump. Sometimes the road cars aren't too bad. This one is, yeah, this one is not good. This one does struggle down here, but it made it to the bottom. It made it to the bottom in one piece, which is always good. So yeah, can't really complain too much. Anyway, on to the times, and it's an impressive time set by the four-wheel drive Baldi. Goes into 14th with a 1:19.8. That puts it up there equal with the D Series off-road pickup truck. And in fact, just a fraction quicker than the Silverado pickup truck. That's not bad for a lowered supercar, effectively, with some aero bits stuck on it. That's pretty damn quick to get down this course. So yeah, I was impressed with that time. Further down, we have got the DSC toy car in the very crowded 1:27 mark, around basically all the other road cars. The Golf, the Vapid Cruiser we had last week, the Moonhawk. It's in the road car area, basically, of vehicles that the suspension just can't cope quite with the course. And the helljeep, well, that manages to beat the Moonbuggy with a 1:31 dead. Yeah, it's not designed for this course. It struggles with the turning, but the suspension can deal with the bumps very well. So yeah, it's not a bad time from the helljeep. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.